Jim, I think you've been asked before about, you know, the defense having to do maybe more if the offense isn't, moving the ball, scoring. But I'm just curious, in the fourth quarter is when teams have had their most success against you guys, whether yardage, points, big plays. Is that maybe a mental breakdown that guys, because of the stress of having to, you know, go in the offense when the offense is struggling, or what have you been able to find out?
I mean,
The
I think
reasons.
there is a fatigue factor, right? We're playing a little more snaps. Got to find more depth, rotate maybe a little bit earlier in games to stay fresh, and that's when you have to play your best, right? We all know that. That's the way the game is won or lost. So we got to close out games stronger, and we have to find kind of the answers on why that's not happening at times, and we got to put that on ourselves. Right? And to me, that starts early, limiting long drives, right? Creating turnovers, all those things early in a game end up adding up, if you can't get it done. So it's kind of a multiple answers on how to fix that thing, but we gotta go out there and play good football and execute and get ourselves off the field.
Jim, I'm sure it's hard to do, but how do you kind of combat some of the double moves that teams are doing against the DBs? Because Caesar talked about just he was a little too aggressive, and that led up a couple of big plays on those double moves.
It's weird how double moves and deception work, right? No, I mean that's it, the game right now of college football, right? You're trying to run the football, and it's how can you use space to isolate DBs, right? Whether it's double moves, deep crossers, right? You take a look at the NFL and just watch guys running as fast as they can away from guys, and teams are doing a great job of utilizing the entire field, width and depth, right? Double moves, max protection, quick game, all that stuff. If it's packaged together correctly, can cause some conflict and some issues. And comes down to technique, playing eyes, understanding situations. When you have help, when you don't have help, right? Stuff like that. You have to learn the game of football right now. Where you start getting exposed. Like that's the number one thing that I see is guys who can really understand situations and how you're getting attacked and where your help is. I mean, that hasn't changed, right? But teams are making you do that at tempo, right? They're making you do that kind of different ways within their packages. And our guys are playing well. For the most part, they recognize those things, and every once in a while, if you're not paying attention, you get stung, and we have to eliminate those as a defense. The way we play defense, we are committed to stop the run, right? That's what we do. To me, that's the best way to winning in college football. With that, you got to win some one-on-ones. You have to win some one-on-ones on the outside, and we've done a great job. That's why we're consistently one of the best teams in the country, but it puts a lot of pressure on our DBs, on our corners, and sometimes I don't feel like they get the credit for how well they play because they allow us to play that way in the box. And I have to do a smart job of protecting them. I have to do a smart job of maybe giving them some more downs off in order to not have to be kind of on that high alert every single play.
Just what catches your attention about Illinois' rushing attack, and how do their backs kind of complement each other, the different guys they use back there?
Yeah, obviously they've played a number of backs. I think they all run physical. They make you tackle them, right? They're not a group that falls down without a fight. So I like their scheme. It's kind of similar to some of the things Michigan does with some of the fly motions and deception, using receivers in the run game. But the backs, they give you different skill sets. They different size, different speed. They're running powerful. They're running behind their pads, and I respect the game. They want to make it a physical game and use the run and play action to try to throw the ball vertical, just as we've seen pretty much everyone do different ways the first part of the season.
Jim, you mentioned one of the ways to be effective is to get off the field, especially early, so the plays don't add up. Some of your guys after the game Saturday said that they were not happy with their efficiency on third down and particularly fourth down. Is that some of the things you're referring to? If those drives bleed out long into the game, you're going to enhance the chance of having breakdowns later if you're on the field too much?
Plays add up, right? I mean, they start to add up for guys, and every time you got opportunities to get off the field, you have to take advantage of it, right? You flipping the field, right? Changing field possession, all that stuff. We had an opportunity early. Thought we had a great opportunity to get a safety. We end up, tackling our own guy and giving up a first down. We get off the field, but field possession changes, right? They're able to kind of take a deep breath and move on. A lot of weeks, some of those tackles, some of the stops, thinking Colin had one on a third down. Dean came out of coverage, made a great one on a third down. Well, most weeks, those are punts on fourth down. And last week, they were going for it. That rushing attack is hard to stop for less than a yard, and they were aggressive. First possession, they come out and go for it on fourth down, backed up twice. Kind of shows you their mentality of what type of game that they were expecting and how they wanted to play us. And the fact that we stopped them on a fourth down early in the game. What did they go, five times, something like that, on fourth down? So they remain confident, and you're playing almost option style type of football, and it's hard to stop for a yard or two consistently. And we did it a couple times, but weren't able to get it done others, and it just continues to add drives. But we had two opportunities, I thought, to score points, and one of them ended up a 14-point swing. Most people probably don't even notice it, but I thought we had a great opportunity to get a pick six, and it ended up turning into a touchdown later in the drive. And then we had one that was the safety. I thought we had a great opportunity, if Herbie keeps his feet, to create points that way. And both of those situations, similar to Notre Dame, we drop an interception, third play of the game. You kind of go, where does this game go if you put a little pressure on a team early? You never know, right? That's the what-ifs of football. And those are the opportunities that we have to focus on. So we're doing a lot of great things. I think our guys are responding to adversity well. When we're put on the field in some tough situations, I thought our guys responded well. Not perfect. Plenty of things to clean up, whether it's third down and red zone. But guys are continuing to play aggressively. They're continuing to play with a lot of confidence, and we just have to continue to build on that and try to focus on creating some turnovers, especially early in a game, to create some momentum.
Jim, when you have a season that starts like this and it's not going the way that everybody wants it to go, I imagine that can be challenging mentally, emotionally, to get up each week and do this all over again. What can you say? Is there a message to try and fix this, to get these guys out of it and make sure that it doesn't sort of spiral from here?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is you look at who beat us. Some pretty good football teams, right? Michigan's playing as well as anybody in the country. Notre Dame was playing as well as anybody in the country. Obviously, they slipped up last week, and Penn State's undefeated. It's not like we're getting beat by teams who are struggling mightily this year. So I think you get your guys to understand, we're going to break out of this. We have to work. We got to make it happen. But it's not like we're playing teams that are struggling around college football. We're playing teams where the margin of error is small to get a victory. And we've done just enough to put ourselves in trouble, and in the last couple, obviously, big trouble. So you just got to have confidence in what we do and continue to push. There's not a magic pill. We just got to go out there and get it done, and you got to execute on game day. That's about as simple as it can be. And, my own experience, two of the best years I had in the NFL, as far as team success, we were 2-3. 2008 in Baltimore, we went to the AFC Championship. We started out the season 2-3 and felt like the wheels were falling off. Same thing in Denver, 2012. We were 2-3, ended up winning 10 or 11 straight to end the season. So it's not uncommon for things like this to happen. You just got to grind through and pull each other along, right? You got to create a spark. You got to create some confidence somehow. It can't be fake. Right? We talked on it last week. Our players are smart. They understand that things aren't going well, but you have to stay committed to each other and find a way to get it done.
Jim, again, just touching on the third and fourth down conversion numbers, is there any frustration from there seeing those numbers? How are you viewing last week's numbers and moving forward from there?
You knew that was a team. You can't let them get to third and fourth and short, or they're going to be difficult to stop. The math changes when you play 4 downs. Right? You use 4 downs to get 10 yards. You got to play a little bit more efficiently on defense. And there was a couple situations frustrating that I think we turned a 3rd and 14 into a 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, whatever it ended up, and they get it. So to me, there was some yardage where maybe the decision they make is different, right? If it turns into 4th and 5 over 4th and 2, or I said, they came back to back and ran the same play later. We tackled it for 3 yards and they punt. So there's definitely little things of frustration. Communication wasn't as clean, right, as it was a couple of those earlier games. They played with a little more tempo than they had early, which you knew they were going to play us a little bit differently than they had to the first few weeks. But guys got to go execute. Like I said, I got to find ways to help them out and take some stress off of certain guys in different situations, and that's on me to get it done. And we got to go out there and continue to fly around and find ways to be more productive around the ball.
Jim, we've heard the last couple of weeks guys apologizing to past players for the start that they've had here. You being one yourself, and I'm sure close relationships still with those guys, have you heard from any of them? And if so, what are those conversations like after a start like this?
Yeah, all former players want you to do is go play well and win. There doesn't really need to be many apologies in sports. They're not dishonoring what Wisconsin football is. We're not playing well. And you can't focus on everybody else. You just got to get it corrected. And there's a very limited amount of people that are in this Badger sports kind of community that can actually affect that, right? Everyone cares, right? I've spoken on it a number of times. The reason why we all love Wisconsin is because the fans are passionate and people do care and they show up and they expect to see good football because history says we play some pretty good football, and it's on us to go out there and perform. That's why guys came here. That's why I wanted to coach here, right, and come back. So like I said, they don't need to continue that trend of feeling like they're doing something to the past or ruining something. We've got to just go play better and get a win and get things rolling back in the right direction. So I appreciate it because they do care about the tradition and the culture of Wisconsin football, but the apology isn't what's needed. The execution and going out there and playing hard. It's all about what you put on tape and what the fans are watching.
Time for one more for Coach.
You played under Brett the 1 year in 2004. What kind of relationship do you guys have, or did you guys have, and what kind of coordinator was he for you?
Yeah, I think the thing that stood out to me was just his confidence, right? Coming in as a senior, having success, and just seeing how he put his stamp on the defense and what we were going to do. And the big thing I remember was just the amount of confidence that he gave us and that he tried to preach, and just the style of play, right? The physicality, the play speed, just what were our calling cards going to be on defense. I think in year one that was more than X's and O's and scheme. That was what he wanted to kind of get across to the players, and we had a talented group, and he wasn't overly complicated, but he wanted us to play a certain way, and he'd call us out if it wasn't that way. So I think that was the number one thing that I remember for playing with him, just how he came in and that the mindset he tried to instill in the team. And I'm sure he's trying to do that very same thing in Illinois, and you're seeing it in the physicality they're trying to play with and the commitment to playing a certain style of football. And you're going to live with the results as long as you feel like your guys are committed and playing the game the right way and trying to go out there and play for each other.
Jim, you talked in the past about the energy that Leo Chanel brings to the defense. What do you think the best example of that is, or something that you've seen him do over the years that shows that?
Hard to say one. I mean, because he's a guy who's always on. I know you guys talk to him, you see him at practice, and he's never a guy that you just don't know what he's going to bring to the table, whether it's physically or emotionally, from a leadership energy standpoint, every day. It's the only way he knows how to play football. And as a coach, you just appreciate guys that are like that, because he's not going to miss opportunities, right? He's not going to feel sorry for himself or for anything that's going on. The only way he knows to go out there is just play with great energy and play hard and physical. And so it's hard to really point out one situation, because you just think of any random training camp practice or a game where all of a sudden he makes a play and everyone just elevates their game, or it's one of those where everybody in that stadium notices, and obviously that's going to affect some people on the other side of the ball. So it's fun to watch. It's hard to do. I wasn't around very many people that could be at that level all the time, nonstop. So it's pretty impressive to watch.